Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another What's for Dinner video. I have a bunch of great recipes for you today, so grab a drink and settle into a comfortable spot and let's get started. First up, we're going to be making a Copycat Crunchwrap Supreme from Taco Bell. I'm also going to be sharing some quick barbecue pork pizzas, a really delicious pan-seared tuna dish with lo mein noodles. We also made Copycat Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches and waffle fries. I also made a shepherd's pie that was really good. One night we did a quick dinner and it was just pigs in a blanket with mac and cheese. And then I'm also going to be sharing my tried and true recipe for apple crisp, which I've been making for many years. So first up is the Copycat Crunchwrap Supreme, and if you've ever been to Taco Bell, you may have tried one of these. Basically, it's just a very large flour tortilla, and wrapped inside it is a crunchy tostada with taco meat, sour cream, nacho cheese, regular cheese, lettuce, and tomato, and they are super delicious. So first, I'm starting out by browning up 2 pounds of ground beef in my Instant Pot. I will link the recipe down below that I kind of use as the base for my taco meat. I do like to make it in the Instant Pot because it makes the beef really tender. So once that was cooked up, I drained it. I added 1 packet of taco seasoning and 1 cup of water. I do add at least 1 cup of water just to keep from getting the burn notice on my Instant Pot. I give that a good stir, put the lid on, make sure it's set to sealing, and then all you have to do is cook it on high pressure for 3 minutes, so it doesn't take very long at all. While that was cooking, I got my cheese shredded. I probably would have used store-bought shredded cheese, but I didn't have any on hand, so it was super quick to grate that up. Next, I'm going to chop up some fresh tomatoes, and I'm going to make sure that these are in kind of small pieces. You're going to be putting them wrapped inside the crunch wrap, so you want to make sure that they're kind of small enough to fit in there with the lettuce and all of the other toppings. So what really inspired me to make this was that I was able to find these extra large Mission flour tortillas at my Walmart. They can be kind of hard to find, so if you find them, go ahead and scoop them up. You can make them with a smaller, like burrito sized tortilla, but it is a little bit more difficult to fit everything inside, and sometimes you have to cut like a small, circle of tortilla and kind of like patchwork it together. But these are definitely big enough. So I made one for my daughter Kira. She doesn't like all of the other stuff in it, so I just did hers with beef and beans. And then for the traditional Crunchwrap Supreme, you just put the soft shell down, you put on some ground beef, some nacho cheese. You can get the Mission crispy tostadas. There's other brands also. You put that on top of the beef, spread a little bit of sour cream on there, and then on top of that you put some shredded lettuce, some chopped up tomato, and then a little bit of shredded cheese on top. You don't need a bunch, just kind of enough to seal the tortilla together, and then you kind of just go around the tortilla folding it as such. And I did not show this part. I'm not sure why I didn't get a clip of it, but basically you just crisp these up in a dry skillet. So the part that you fold on the top, that's the part that you place down in the skillet, and when you crisp up the tortilla, it kind of seals it together along with that melted shredded cheese and kind of makes it in a nice little bundle. You can kind of see how this one is here. So that was after it was all cooked. I'm going to slice it in half so that you guys can see it. These are super filling. Definitely I could not finish one. Adam finished one and did not eat another one, and Connor could not finish his either. But if you're looking for a new way to have taco night that's really delicious, I would definitely recommend this. I will link the video down below that I used as a basis for the recipe. So next up was just a quick lunch that I made on the weekend. This is some barbecue pork pizzas with naan bread. So I had this clearance naan in my fridge. I thawed it out and I'm just placing it on a baking tray with some parchment paper. I drizzled a little bit of barbecue sauce on there. That's one that one of you guys sent me. I think it was Gina maybe that sent it to me. By the way, if anyone ever sends me anything, I always send you guys a thank you note, but I'm also terrible with names. If I meet you at a conference conference and you don't have a name tag on, like 10 minutes later, I will have forgotten what your name was. So please don't take that personally, but I know one of you guys sent it to me. We had some leftover pulled pork in the refrigerator that we had during the week, and this is a perfect way to use that up. You can also put it on pizza crust, and it's really delicious. So I sprinkled some cheddar cheese on top just because that's what I had on hand. I was making one for the kids to split and one for Adam, and he obviously had jalapenos on his. The kids didn't want any. So I baked that in the oven, probably about 400 degrees for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, just until it's brown and crispy on the bottom. I garnished it with some cilantro, and that was what we had for lunch that day. Really quick and good. Hey guys, I'm popping in here actually to share with you a lunch idea. And I know this is a what's for dinner video, but I am working from home today and thought I would share my lunch as a quick dinner option if you guys are looking for something. So these are I believe they're called black pepper and herb seasoned chicken strips. I got them in the freezer section at Costco. Basically, I just put them in the air fryer for 10 minutes and heat them up. They also have the black and spicy ones, and then there are buffalo ones also. Some people say they're hard to find, but they make for a quick lunch. And then I just chopped up some mozzarella cheese and some tomato and some basil and made a quick caprese salad. And then I have some ranch to dip my chicken in. So I just thought I would give that, quick lunch idea if you guys needed one of those. All right, so next up is this sort of hodgepodge dinner of pan-seared tuna, lo mein noodles, and then I also made a bok choy side salad. I basically had salmon and some tuna in the freezer that I wanted to use, and I was trying to figure out a meal that we could use both of them in. The kids like the salmon, and Adam and I ate the tuna. So I'm starting out by marinating my salmon fillets, and I just like to marinate those in an equal amount of soy sauce and maple syrup. Also a few cloves of garlic and a tiny little bit of sriracha. This is actually, I think, a Skinny Taste recipe. It's like air fryer soy maple salmon maybe, or something like that. So I'll link that recipe down below, but it's really good if you haven't tried it and you like salmon. So I just combine all of that in a Ziploc bag, and then I'm going to put the salmon in there after I put some sriracha in. Bonus points if you just saw Murphy's nose poking up above the counter. He's always out there when I'm cooking, trying to get a bite of something. These were salmon fillets that I had gotten from Imperfect Foods. I do order from them about every other week. I do not work with them. I do not get a sponsorship from them or anything, but I do have a coupon code if you guys want to try it out. I enjoy getting different types of produce and meat and pantry items from them just because it's a good way to help reduce food waste, and they have different things on their site that I can't find around here. So I'll put that coupon code linked in the description box below. But basically, I didn't have to cut these salmon up at all. They were already kind of in pieces. So I put them in the bag along with the marinade, kind of shook that around a little bit, and then I'll pop that in the fridge and let it marinate just for about 30 minutes while I work on the rest of dinner. So next up, I'm going to work on this bok choy salad. So I had quite a bit of chopped up bok choy that I had in the refrigerator, and I wanted to make a small salad to take to work the following day. So you can just see I have a small container there. I took out a portion of that, and then the rest of the salad I'm just going to assemble in the dish that I stored the bok choy in. So I'm just slicing up some cucumber. This recipe is sort of a take off of a bok choy salad that is available. I think it's a Korean restaurant around here, and it's really good. It's sort of like a spicy Asian vinaigrette dressing with bok choy, cilantro, peppers, cucumber. You can really put any kind of veggies in there you want, but it is really good. I did base it off of a Martha Stewart recipe, so if you're looking for something to follow, I'll leave that linked in the description box below if you'd like to print it out. But basically, I'm just chopping up all of my veggies and getting them into that container with the bok choy. I'm also going to chop up some green onions. This is a great recipe to kind of just use whatever veggies you have lying around in your produce drawer. Adam was actually giving me a hard time the other day. He's like, why do you put so many veggies in your salad? It kind of just seems like you're trying to use up everything that's in the fridge. And I'm like, well, duh, of course that's what I'm trying. Of course that's what I'm trying to do. What else would I be trying to do? And then cilantro, you definitely cannot leave that out. It is a delicious flavor in this particular salad. So I'm just going to give that a rough chop and get that stirred in as well. This salad, actually, it's not my kids' favorite, although they will eat it. And then this was a vinaigrette that I had mixed up. So I will put a small portion of that into a little container, and then that is what is going to go in my sort of travel side salad. And then I'm just going to drizzle the rest over the bok choy salad here, which is going to go in the fridge, and then that will just sit until it is time to eat. Bok choy is a pretty sturdy vegetable, so you can dress it a little bit ahead of time and it won't get soggy. I probably wouldn't do it days ahead of time, but a few hours is just fine. Now, this was something that I sort of did on the fly. I remembered that I had some wonton wrappers in the crisper drawer also in my fridge. I think I actually bought these when I was doing my vegan challenge, and I meant to make like vegan dumplings out of them, and I just never did. But one thing I thought would be delicious on this salad was some wonton strips. And so I just put some vegetable oil in a small skillet and I cut these into strips and I fried them. They fry up very, very quickly, and then you just sprinkle them with salt and they make a delicious crunchy topping to a salad. So if you haven't tried that, definitely do. Okay, so I'm going to cook the salmon in the air fryer, and I just went ahead and sprayed the basket with some nonstick cooking spray, and I'm going to use a fork to remove the salmon fillets from the bag and just place them in the air fryer. Now, as you can see, when I was putting these in the bag, these were very sort of thin, small salmon fillets, so they don't take long at all in the air fryer. I just use, my air fryer has a fish button, and I do still get questions every so often on my air fryer. It's a Cosori. I've tried like 4 different air fryers, and this is my favorite one, so I'll link the specific one I have down below. But yeah, it does have a fish button. That's what I use. I just didn't use the whole time. So here are some lo mein noodles that I made with just some dried spaghetti. I will leave a link for that recipe down below. Here is the salmon that I made in the air fryer. The kids enjoyed that. And then I'm going to get to work on this seared tuna that Adam and I are going to eat. So I'm going to start out by assembling the sauce that we'll deglaze the pan with after we sear the tuna fillets. I sliced up some jalapeno, and I'm also chopping up some more cilantro, and then I'll put this in a measuring cup so that I can grate some ginger in there. I actually keep my ginger in the freezer and I don't even peel it or anything, but I use a microplane to grate it over the food, and it is so fast and easy. I would definitely recommend that if you've never tried it before. Next, I'm going to drizzle in some soy sauce and then some lime juice. The tuna fillets, the ahi tuna fillets that I had as well, those were from Imperfect Foods also. I was actually very surprised when I first started using their service that they not only had produce, but that they had meat and seafood and pantry items as well. So here are my ahi tuna fillets. I went ahead and seared those on one side. I just have some olive oil in the skillet. Look, I can't get that. Watch me struggle. These are just seasoned very simply with salt and pepper. And then I'm going to give that sauce a good stir. And this was really good. I would definitely make this again, and I would recommend this recipe. It's a Tyler Florence recipe, so I found it on the Food Network website. I'll link it down below. But you just pour that in there and then basically just let that sauce thicken a little bit, and bam, you're done. So here's what Adam and I's plates looked like. We had the lo mein noodles, the tuna, and then the bok choy side salad with the wonton strips. This dinner was kind of a lot of work, but it was really good, so it was worth it. All right, so next up, we're making Copycat Chick-fil-A. I have to say, I am in no way a Chick-fil-A connoisseur. We don't even have one around here. I've probably eaten Chick-fil-A maybe 3 times in my whole entire life, but they say, word on the street is that this red bag from Aldi of the chicken breast fillets is very similar to Chick-fil-A sandwiches. So that's what we're going to make tonight, along with some good Ore-Ida golden waffle fries. So I'm going to start out actually by chopping up some lettuce. I wanted to have lettuce washed up for our sandwiches, but then I also wanted just to prep this for salads throughout the week. We had one of these breaded chicken fillets left over, and what I did was I went ahead and chopped it up and sort of made a salad to take to work the next day, with some of this lettuce and some dressing and cheese and croutons and that kind of thing. So I have 2 baking trays here. I'm going to use one for the fries and one for the chicken. I am lining those with parchment paper. I always try to do that just because it keeps my baking trays looking newer, longer, and it's less cleanup. So I placed the chicken on one, and I'm going to put the waffle fries on the other. I always feel like when I buy waffle fries, like there aren't a lot in the bag. Like there's only 4 of us, and it doesn't take us very long to go through those. I almost feel like I should have cooked 2 bags of waffle fries, but whatever. I'm going to slice up some tomato, obviously, for the sandwiches, and then we had a little bit on the side also. Do you guys eat sliced tomato with salt and pepper? I always remember eating that like in the summer when I was a kid, and so sometimes I set that out on the table and we all like to eat it, except for Kira because she's weird and doesn't like raw tomato. Here is the lettuce. I'm just spinning that dry in my OXO salad spinner, and then this is the chicken. After it came out of the oven, I made sure to put it on the convection setting so it got nice and crispy. There were our fries. I did toast up the buns a little bit too. These were some brioche buns. So I just put a chicken fillet down on the bottom of the bun. I put some tomato and lettuce and pickle. I think this was actually Connor's sandwich that I was making. So I put some ketchup on there and then put some fries on the side. I do know that you can get sauces in the condiment section at Walmart that kind of taste like the Chick-fil-A ones, and I have gotten those before, but I didn't have any on this night. So here's what we had. This was super easy, super simple, which was fine because we had swim that night. Just good old chicken sandwiches and waffle fries. Okay, so this next dish is shepherd's pie, and it was actually a Green Chef dish that I meal prepped the weekend before last to have during the week. I did a sponsored video with Green Chef earlier this month, and so I had a few meals left over to make, and this turned out really, really good. So with Green Chef, all of the veggies come pre-chopped, which is really awesome actually, and the flavors are really good, and it is such an awesome time saver. So I went ahead and sauteed up those onions and carrots, and then I put in the ground beef along with some Italian seasoning and just sauteed that up until everything was cooked through. And while that was working, I went ahead and peeled and cubed the potatoes for the top of the shepherd's pie. Now I think actually this is maybe called a cottage pie. I don't know. I'm not sure on the correct naming of everything, but I think someone told me before that if it's beef, it's actually a cottage pie, but we always call it shepherd's pie. At any rate, you need some mashed potatoes for the top, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to put those in cold water and bring them to a boil. When the meat was done cooking, I added some tomato paste and some all-purpose flour to that and just gave that a good stir. This is going to help thicken up the mixture. Shepherd's pie is a great thing to meal prep because essentially you can assemble everything ahead of time in a casserole dish, pop it in the fridge, and then on the night when you're ready to bake it, you just kind of bring it to room temperature and put it in the oven, and dinner is done. So I added some broth to the meat mixture, and then I added the peas. I'm going to give that a good stir, and that's it for the filling. This was really, really flavorful. Would definitely recommend this recipe. I'll leave the link to the recipe as well as a coupon for Green Chef down below if you're interested. So here is the casserole dish that I used. I went ahead and put the meat mixture in the bottom of that. I mashed up my potatoes with a little bit of half and half and sour cream and a little bit of butter and salt and pepper until those were nice and creamy. I like to make sure that my mashed potatoes when I make shepherd's pie are a little bit wet because they will dry out a little bit in the oven. You can also add an egg yolk if you want them to set up a little bit more, and I have done that in the past. So all you do is just take your mashed potatoes and put those on top of the meat. And then I just sprinkled on some white cheddar cheese. This is actually very similar to tater tot casserole, except with tater tot casserole, obviously you are just placing the potatoes on top as tater tots and not mashed potatoes, so it's a little less fussy. But either way, this was so convenient to have in the fridge. Here's what it looked like when I was done prepping it. I just wrapped it in foil, stuck it in the fridge, and then when it came time to dinner on the night of, all I had to do was remove it, bring it to room temperature, and then I stuck it into a 400-degree oven covered with foil. I baked it until it was bubbling, and then I took the foil off and let the cheese brown on top. Okay, so here's what it looks like when it came out of the oven. Anytime you take a casserole out of the oven, it's always best to let it sit for like 5 to 10 minutes before you serve it. Otherwise it'll be way too hot to eat. So on the side, I was going to serve some crescent rolls. I had a few cans in the fridge to use up, and these are always a winner. Everyone in the family likes these. No one complains about them. So I went ahead and rolled these up on a baking tray and got those into the oven to bake. Along with it, I made some lima beans. So I just boiled those on the stove for about 10 minutes and then seasoned them with butter and salt and pepper. And then here were the crescent rolls. So this dinner does not look very impressive. I did sprinkle a few chives on top, but believe me, that shepherd's pie was delicious, and it was just a nice, warm, filling meal for a cold fall night. All right, so who doesn't love pigs in a blanket and mac and cheese? I was at my wit's end at the end of this particular day, and I needed something super quick. So I cooked up a couple boxes of good old mac and cheese. This wasn't even Kraft mac and cheese. This was Aldi mac and cheese. So I made that, and then I just wrapped some crescent rolls around some hot dogs and baked those. You can put cheese in your pigs in a blanket if you want, but my family was super excited to eat this meal. They, in fact, would wish that I cooked this way every night, but alas, I don't. Okay, so apple crisp. I had some apples that were a little bit past their prime, and this is a great way to use those up. You can kind of see as I peel these here that they had a few brown spots on them, but never fear, they're always good in baked goods. So I've been making this particular apple crisp for probably over 10 years now, and I wanted to retest this recipe out because it will be in my cookbook that's coming out next year in April. So I can't share the recipe with you quite yet, but I will at some point. Don't worry. If you guys want to be on my email list to get notified as we get closer to the launch, I'll have a link in the description box below. You can sign up for that, and then I'll send you an email when that's available. So basically, I just peel these apples and I chop them up into small bite-sized chunks, and I'll put those into a bowl, and then you're going to mix this with some brown sugar and some flour, some maple syrup, and a couple of other things to sort of make an apple pie filling. Apple crisp is a lot easier to make than apple pie, obviously, because you don't have to make a crust, and it's really good served with either vanilla ice cream or whipped cream. So I just stirred all those ingredients together. You can also add nuts to this if you like. My kids aren't wild about that, so I did not this time. I went ahead and sprayed a deep dish pie dish. You could also use an 8x8 Pyrex dish and put the apple filling in there. And then the crumble actually is basically just butter, flour, brown sugar, and cinnamon. And I'm actually using some Miyoko's, which is vegan butter. I had a few packages of this left over from when I did my vegan challenge, and so I decided to use it, and I couldn't even really tell the difference. So I'm putting in all of the dry ingredients there, and then I'm just going to use a pastry cutter to kind of combine this. If you don't have a pastry cutter, you can also use a fork or 2 knives, although a pastry cutter does make it really easy to do this because it helps combine all of the cold butter in with the flour. You want to make sure that when you're doing this, your butter is cold and cubed, because that's what will help you make those crumbles on the top of the apple crisp. So just spread that out over the top, and that's it. It could not be easier than that. So I'm just going to pop this in the oven and bake it until the top is golden brown and the filling is nice and bubbly. So here's what it looked like right when I pulled it out of the oven. You can see the edges there are bubbling and the top is golden brown. So delicious. Definitely you do want to let this cool for maybe about 20 minutes before you scoop it out, although it is good when it's still warm if you serve it with the vanilla ice cream. So here's how we had it. We just had the apple crisp with a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top, and so delicious. I'll link a similar recipe down below if you guys want a good apple crisp recipe. But again, thank you so much for watching, and as always for your support. I'll have lots more fun videos coming out this week, so I hope that you'll stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
You had me at hello.